What's up guys, welcome back to the channel, and today we have a controversial video, and the topic at hand involves Damian Lillard and his past playoff performances. Now for some reason, a lot of people do not have the honest conversation about Dame in the playoffs, and I honestly don't know why nobody wants to talk about this. Maybe it's because Dame is so beloved, but luckily for you guys, I'm willing to have this conversation and be honest about Dame's past playoff performances. Now, before I start this video, I just want to clarify that whenever someone throws out the word overrated, it gets a lot of reaction and a lot of people get upset. So I want to clarify before this video starts, Damian Lillard, he is a great player. I just happen to believe he is overrated when it comes to the playoffs. So Dame's playoff career starts off in 2014, and in the first round, he was matched up against the Houston Rockets. In this series, it is actually one of Dame's better playoff performances. It is probably his second best playoff series ever, and in this series, Dame would have an iconic buzzer beater that would advance the Blazers to the second round, when he matched up against the San Antonio Spurs. Now Dame, he was fantastic in that first round series, but against the Spurs, he would take a little bit of a dip, and in the Game 5 elimination game, he would only put up 17 points on 38% shooting. But I think a lot of people, they give Dame a pass for this because he was very young, and me myself, I do kind of give Dame a pass. That's his first playoff performance ever, so I really don't hold this game against him. Now, in the 2015 playoffs, the Blazers, they were the 4th seed in the Western Conference. In the first round, they were matched up against the Memphis Grizzlies, and the Blazers, they were the favorites to beat the Grizzlies in this series, but they would lose in 5 games. And Dame's efficiency, it would totally be off, as he only shot 40.6% from the field and 16.3% from 3, and he averaged just over 21 points per game. And in the elimination Game 5 of this series, Dame would put up 22 points on 42% shooting, including 12.5% from 3, nothing spectacular, and the Blazers, they would lose a first round series as the favorite over the Memphis Grizzlies. Now, let's advance to the 2016 playoffs. Dame and the Blazers, they would be matched up against Chris Paul's LA Clippers, and through the first 4 games of this series, Chris Paul, he was severely outplaying Damian Lillard. But that would all change in the third quarter of Game 4, as Chris Paul, he would leave with a fractured hand, and he would miss the remainder of this series. Also in this series, Blake Griffin, he went out with a quad injury in Game 3, so Dame, he was essentially playing the DeAndre Jordan Clippers. And even with that being the case, Dame still did not perform well in the last 3 games of that series, averaging 20.7 points per game and only shooting 35.7% from the field. But the Blazers, they would advance to the second round to play the Golden State Warriors. And the Warriors, for the first 2 games of this series, they were without Steph Curry. Now, when Steph did come back for the final 2 games of this series, he would severely outplay Damian Lillard, and frankly, it wasn't even close, as Dame's efficiency, it completely fell off a cliff, and Steph, he was the clear-cut best player in that series. Now, once again in the 2017 playoffs, the Blazers would be matched up against the Golden State Warriors, and again in this series, Golden State, they would be missing a key piece, as Kevin Durant, he would miss 2 games in this series, and in these 2 games, Dame would be absolutely horrific, only averaging 21.5 points per game and shooting 37.5% from the field, and the Blazers, they would lose both these games by double digits. Now, for this series, he was once again outplayed by Steph Curry, and that's a trend of Dame's playoff career, getting absolutely abused by Steph Curry. Now, moving ahead to the 2018 playoffs, this would be Dame's worst playoff series of his career, as Portland, they were the 3 seed, and they were matched up against the 6-seeded New Orleans Pelicans. Now, in this series, Dame would not score over 20 points or shoot over 43% from the field in any of the games, and that was mainly due to the defense of Jrue Holiday, as he absolutely locked down and outplayed Damian Lillard. And as you can see on your screen, Dame's efficiency, it was once again absolutely horrendous. Now, the Pelicans in this series, they would sweep the Blazers. I'll repeat that again. They would SWEEP the Blazers. And the Blazers, they were the favorites to beat the Pelicans in this series. And I don't know why this series is kind of forgotten, but I can only imagine if another superstar caliber point guard got outplayed this badly by someone like Jrue Holiday, who in his own right is a very good player, but he's not on the superstar level that some people think Dame is on. Now, in the 2019 playoffs, Dame would have a bounce-back first-round series with the Oklahoma City Thunder and Russell Westbrook, where he'd average 33 points per game, 6 assists, 4.4 rebounds on 46% shooting from the field. And I will give Dame a lot of credit for this series as he played out of his mind in the final game as he hit the game winner over Paul George. But the thing that's not really talked about and swept under the rug is the fact that after that series, Dame did not really play well in the second round, and actually he was outplayed by CJ McCollum, his own teammate, and in the game 7 of that series, Dame would have 13 points on 3 for 17 shooting, and CJ McCollum, he would be the guy who would come up clutch on both ends of the court as he would hit a dagger mid-range jump shot that would effectively end the Denver Nuggets season and have the Blazers advance to the Western Conference Finals. Now, before I talk about this Western Conference Finals series, I want to stress there's a thin line between having extreme confidence and just being flat out delusional. And the comments from Dame you're about to see, they're flat out delusional, as he says the Warriors, they are a better matchup for the Blazers than the Denver Nuggets were in the second round. And if you don't believe me, here's Dame saying just that.
Shooting a lot of threes and stuff like that. Not really throwing the ball on the block and stuff like that. So I think it's a much better matchup for us as far as personnel.
So after hearing that, you would think Dame and the Blazers, they would come out definitely determined to outplay Steph and Klay, but that was absolutely not the case, as Steph Curry, he would go absolutely ballistic this series, and he would have a field day with the Blazers' non-existent defense, and he actually had the most points ever in a series as a 4-game sweep. And you can see the side-by-side comparison of Dame versus Curry, and Dame, he just did not step up in this series, and he definitely didn't play like the superstar that some people think he is. Now, the 2019 playoffs, they were really when Dame, he gained the reputation of being a big-time clutch performer, and I just want to throw up a quick graphic of playoff Dame before the OKC series and playoff Dame after the OKC series. Now, looking at this graphic, can you tell me with a straight face that this is a big-time playoff performer? Because I don't see it. 23.9 points per game, that is decent. On 40% shooting, that is Russell Westbrook level of efficiency, and Westbrook is notorious for being highly inefficient. And Dame, after the OKC series, averaged 24.1 points per game on below 40% shooting, and as I said before, he was outplayed by CJ against Denver, and he was destroyed by Steph in the Western Conference Finals. So if that's what a superstar in the playoff looks like, I guess we just have different definitions of what a superstar actually is in the playoffs. And if you're a big fan of the NBA, I'm pretty sure you're aware of the Paul George and Damian Lillard beef, and I think the polar opposite narratives surrounding these players is very interesting. Dame, he's looked at as a big-time playoff performer who always shows up in the big games, and Paul George, he's looked at as a playoff choker who underperforms in the big moments. Now, those narratives, they are polar opposites, but I do think it's very interesting when you throw up the comparisons of Dame versus PG from 2014 to 2019. It is shockingly similar, and I might go as far as to say that Paul George, he's actually a better playoff performer than Dame, which is interesting considering the narrative surrounding Paul George is that he doesn't show up in the playoffs, and the narrative with Dame is that he always does. That's just something interesting I just want to throw out there for you guys to see. Now, if you compare Dame's playoff performances to the other elite point guards in the NBA from 2014 to 2019, it is very shocking at the results you get. When you compare him to Steph Curry, Kyrie Irving, Chris Paul, and Russell Westbrook, Dame, he ranks 3rd amongst those guards in points per game, 4th in assists, 4th in rebounds, 4th in field goal percentage, 4th in three-point percentage, 3rd in free throw percentage, and 6th in games played. Now, in most of those categories, Dame is in the bottom half, which again might be shocking to some people considering Dame has the reputation of being this otherworldly playoff performer. And I think it is important to note the sample size of these other guards, and that Dame, he has played the least playoff games out of all these players. And I think stats-wise, Dame benefits from losing earlier in the first round because the further you advance in the playoffs, the tougher the defense gets and the tougher it is to score the ball. And if you want to look at the clutch stats from those elite point guards over the last decade, here's how it would play out. Kyrie Irving leads all of them at 3.9 points per game in the clutch. Russell Westbrook is second with 3.5 points per game. Steph Curry and Dame, they are tied at 3.1 points per game. And CP3, he is last with 2.9 points per game. Now, when you rank these point guards by field goal percentage, you get a little bit different results. Kyrie Irving, he is once again first at 45.6%. Chris Paul is second at 43.6%. Steph Curry is third at 43.1%. Russell Westbrook, he is 4th at 39.1%, and Dame, he is last at 39%. So once again, Dame ranks in the bottom half of these stats when he's compared to the elite point guards in the NBA. And this is only comparing Dame to point guards. This is not including players like LeBron James, James Harden, Anthony Davis, Giannis Antetokounmpo, and all the other top 10, top 15 players. And I don't even think it's necessary to bring up those players in this video because I already showed that Dame, he is in the middle to the bottom of the pack in the majority of these stats when you compare him against the other elite point guards in the playoffs. Now, if you ask me why I think Dame has become overrated when it comes to the playoffs, it's mainly because he has 2 iconic buzzer-beating shots that kind of overshadow all of his down moments. And those 2 buzzer-beating shots, they were all-time great iconic shots, but those shots, they are not the only thing that goes into being a great playoff performer, and there's a ton more that goes into determining who is a superstar playoff performer, and in my opinion, Damian Lillard, he is just not that. So that is really all I have to say. I think I made my point of Dame being overrated in the playoffs, and I know I have a lot of people disagreeing with me, but honestly, I could care less because the facts are out there, and you guys can make your own decision about Dame as a playoff performer. Is he elite like the media and the majority of fans would have you think, or do you think he underperforms and he is slightly overrated in the playoffs like I think and some other fans in the NBA community? Let me know what you guys think in the comments, and as always, thank you guys for watching. I'll see you guys next time.